So, as someone who's a fan of everything swords and sorcery, I've been interested in dipping my toes into more Japanese fantasy. I've always been a big fan of Berserk, and I vaguely remember during the interview that he stated some of his influences.
ですか。それで今先生のからいただいた今お話今関係してくるんですけど、実際この作品書かれる上でですね、その影響を受けたものですね、何かございましたらお伺いできればと思うんですが。
日本の小説でもよろしいんでしょうか。
はいはい。
一番影響を受けたのがグイーンサーガっていう栗本薫さん小説家ですね、
はいはい、
作品のグイーンサーガシリーズっていうファンタジー小説があるんですけど、これはギネスブックにも載ってまして、世界で一番個人が書いた小説のファンタジーの中では世界で一番長い小説なんです。
I'm sure, like most fans of Berserk, Guin Saga was a name you've never heard of. Recently, I've discovered it again by looking at certain fantasy artists like Yoshitaka Amano and Kentaro Miura, who both did covers for Guin Saga at one point. Though that might be a superficial reason to get into something, I was also interested in seeing where Miura's influences came from. The story starts off with our two main characters, Remus and Rinda, who are two twins with platinum blonde hair that are teleported into Rudewood after their homeland Peros is attacked by a faction called the Mongol. Unfortunately for them, they are found yet again by the Mongol soldiers, but before they are taken away, this giant hulking man with a leopard mask comes barreling in. After he proceeds to whoop the asses of the Mongol, he collapses out of exhaustion. The two twins try to help him with water and get him to recover, and they find out that the man's name is Guin and he seems to have some type of amnesia. And they try to leave the forest. They end up being attacked by evil spirits in the woods, but are then captured and brought to the place called Stalfos Keep, which is where the Black Count resides. The Count tries to pry information about Peros from Rinda, but she doesn't know anything. With that, Guin and Remus are thrown into prison, and Rinda is taken away where she meets another captive named Sumi, while the boys also find out that they have a next-door neighbor named Ishtavan. They converse about escaping before Guin is taken away to fight in the tournament. After a scathing encounter with an ape, he tries to take the Count captive before he threatens to spread his disease. Guin is taken back to the cell where they then discover that Ishtavan has escaped. The last bits of this story involve these violent factions of monkeys called the Sem that descend upon the Stalfos Keep and wreak havoc. Guin and Remus end up escaping and meeting up with Rinda and Sumi before escaping down into a secret dungeon. There they find the Black Count, who's taken Sumi away from them. It's then revealed that the Count is actually no Count at all, and that he's a wraith impersonating the Count. Guin slays him and ends up leaving with Sumi and the twins as they jump down into the river of Kes. Okay, so wow, there's a lot to talk about here. Personally, there were a lot of aspects of the story that I do like, and then there were some that just fell flat for me. So to start off with the positives in this, the action scenes are described in really good detail and are gory. Guin's fight with the ape had me hooked, and I was interested in every fight scene that he's in. I really like how he just kind of walked right in the way of the Mongol soldiers and ripped them apart like a wild animal. Overall, anything with Guin had me interested. I'm definitely excited to learn more about him, and his dynamics between Remus and Rima kind of reminded me of Rin and Bat from Fist of the North Star. You have this big hulking man with these two children that he's adamant on protecting. It was interesting to see where other pieces of media are influenced by this. Like, the plot structure really reminds me of early Berserk during the Black Swordsman arc, where Guts would just kind of go to town and expose their leaders as terrible people. Also, those soldiers coming back alive is almost exactly like the second chapter of Berserk. I noticed that the name of Stalfos Keep is the same name of the enemies from the Legend of Zelda franchise, so I thought that was cool. I'm also interested in learning about Ishtavan. He seems like an interesting character with a long history. That's about all I have for the stuff that I liked. As for the story, it's fine. I don't think that it's bad by any means, but I'm not going to be too harsh on it because it's the first novel, and I have a good feeling it'll get better from here. The only thing I can really say that's negative is the pacing is pretty rough at times. There were times where I'd kind of zone out during a segment of the story only for it to be in the same place by the time that I came back to my senses. Towards the end, when the SEM raid on the castle started to take place, it kind of felt like the story just froze. Also, I didn't really care that much for the Black Count. I thought the twist at the end was kind of interesting, but the character itself didn't really do anything for me. So with that in mind, I'm interested in seeing where the story moves forward and how our characters will turn out. I don't really know how many of these novels that I'm going to talk about because there's a very large number of them. Oh my goodness! Plus, I want to maybe talk about the anime and manga at a certain point. So if you want to get into Guin Saga, there's some audiobooks out now, and I found mine right here on YouTube. Take care, folks, and remember, if you would like to support me, please check out my Redbubble merch down in the bio and description. Thanks for watching.